Welcome to another edition of Cropland Genetics Agri Solutions Crop Cam. I'm Mark Ullman. Today I'm here with Dustin Nagebauer from New Vision Co-op. We're going to talk a little bit about plant development of the corn and some genetic differences that we have out there. Up in the northern part of the corn belt, a lot of times we use males from the northern genetics, good early season vigor, emergence, and the easterns for our cold, wet soils, help with the penetrating root system and cold, wet emergence. On the female side, we've got some strengths and weaknesses as well. So, Dusty, in your sales of Cropland brand corn, what parents do you use the most of on the male side?
On the male side, we use a lot of northerns and a lot of easterns in this area. We're getting into using some more of the western influence for our lighter soils. And as you move west of where we're at here by Worthington, as you move west, it seems like them westerns really start to kick in. But I would say a majority have either the northern or the eastern or both together.
So when we look for seedling vigor on a cold or a wet soil, what female would you probably want to steer towards if you knew that grower was going into a challenging condition like that?
On a challenging condition and from the female side, you probably want to look at the early health, which gives us that great emergence coming through there in the cooler, wet soils that we typically fight here in this area.
Great, and I agree with you because a lot of times we'll take that early plant health female and cross it with a high yield female, which helps us with more root and top end yield potential as well. So by doing a combination of the females and the males, we got a good spread of our risk in our genetics. So the other thing we're looking at today is going to be what's going on in that seed. We're standing in the field that was chisel plowed last fall, had some spring application of fertilizer on it, and then was dug and planted about 8 days ago on April 15th. And we have some examples in front of us here that show the 4421 Roundup Ready refuge version of it. And you can see after about 8 days, we've got a great coleoptile sheath started, pointing up, and the radical root has started to about 1 inch in length. And we've got some examples here on the sheet. You can see the different parts of the plant, the coleoptile sheath. So it's going to push through to the soil surface, and once it gets up, it'll leaf out. Down below we have the radical, which is your main tap root for now, and some lateral seminal roots. Here's where your nodal roots will start. Now, planting depth is very crucial to nodal root development. Dusty, what do you recommend guys to use for planting depth to be safe and make sure that they got proper depth for root development?
Oh, what I like to see guys using is that 1 3/4 to 2 inches. I guess we try not to get much less than that, 1.5 inches to 1 inch, because in that area is where mesocaudal, where our crown kind of starts, and our mesocaudal length comes from the seed up to that, 3/4 of an inch below the soil surface.
Great. So as you can see in this example, whether it's planted at 1.5 inches or 2.5, your crown roots, your nodal roots, always develop 3/4 of an inch below your soil line. So you can dig up your seed anytime through the growing season, find your seed, measure up to that crown, that nodal root, and you add 3/4 of an inch. So example, if this is 3/4 of an inch mesocaudal plus 3/4 inch to the soil line, your planting depth was 1.5 inches. They always develop 3/4 of an inch below soil surface. So, with that being said, Dusty, is there anything else that you would remind a grower to watch out for as plant development? We've had some great heat units lately. Temperature's great. Do we have any frost scares ahead of us?
We sure could. Our overnight lows haven't been very far out of the 30s here in the last week to 10 days of what we've been planting. I guess I'd encourage guys to do the same thing that we've been doing here. Go out in your fields and do some checking. Hopefully guys are checking behind the planter as well, but just see how things are coming through. And if you got any questions, I guess always feel free to give us a call. We're always here to help you out any way we can.
Great. So that being said, if we get some cold times and we get some damage above ground, when does that growing point come above ground?
That growing point won't come above the soil surface until we get to about V6, 6-leaf corn. So we've basically, yeah, we've got probably a month in here, something like that, before we're going to be out of harm's way.
Another thing to remember is, the energy is coming from that seed right off the bat. And then it will rely on the seminal and radical roots for a while until the nodal roots take over, and that's kind of what we call the weaning stage, where that's going to be the future of that plant. So that's why it's so crucial to get that proper planting depth, so the nodal roots, all 5 rings of the nodal roots, can take advantage of all the soil fertility and nutrients. As we move forward, it's always a good reminder to know that some of this corn is planted earlier than others and been through different struggles. And at the same time, we'll follow up on these fields both planted early and later and see how they develop.